All right, so how would Joel himself kick this off? He wouldn't hit you with a bunch of fancy high-vibe words. Nah, he'd just get quiet for a second, look out at everybody, and then he'd say something real simple like, "Listen up, family." For real listen. Not just with your ears, but with that part deep inside you that already knows the score. So check it. We're all out here grinding, right? Hustling. We're making vision boards, setting alarms for 5 a.m., affirmating in the mirror till we're blue in the face, trying to make something happen. We're on the struggle bus, pedal to the metal, thinking we're the ones driven. But what if I told you that the whole GPS is whack? What if the secret sauce, the cheat code to a life that's totally lit, I'm talking real peace, real flow, real power, ain't about doing more. It's about doing now change. Now, hold up. I see you. You're thinking, that sounds lazy. That sounds like I'm just gonna sit on my couch and binge Netflix while my life falls apart. Nah, fam. That ain't it. This now time gee I'm talking about, it's the wildest, most powerful move you'll ever make. It's the ultimate plot twist for your soul. Because when you finally learn how to truly do this, no TNG, that's when evertation changes. Your stress, it dips, that drama, it dissolves. Solutions start popping up out of nowhere, like you got the universe on speed dial. It's not about being inactive. It's about getting your little me self out of the driver's seat and letting the real driver, the infinite, God, the universe, whatever you wanna call that dope power, take the wheel. You lean back, you get quiet, and you just let it cook. So, how do you actually do this kind of powerful nothing? What does it look like when you stop forcing your plan and start flowing with the plan? So, the next time you're in a situation that's got you all in your head, sweating and stressing, I want you to ask yourself one thing. What if, just for a moment, I did not shin, not a lazy nothing, but a powerful, surrendered nothing? What would shift? What door would swing open if I just stopped leaning on it? If this hit different for you today, if it sparked something inside, do me a solid, all right. Smash that like button to let me know you're tuning in. Down in the comments, drop the numbers Sus 11. Why 11? It's a symbol, one for you and one for the infinite, standing together. And most importantly, hit subscribe and ring that bell, because we're just getting started, and this journey gets even deeper. Let's go. That's when EVOITN changes. Your stress, it dips. That drama, it dissolves. Solutions start popping up out of nowhere, like you got the universe on speed dial. It's not about being inactive. It's about getting your little meh self out of the driver's seat and letting the real driver, the infinite, God, the universe, whatever you want to call that dope power, take the wheel. You lean back, you get quiet, and you just let it cook. So let's break down this first piece, what I like to call the cosmic chill pill. Now, I know what you're thinking. A chill pill? That sounds like something you take to just zone out and not care. But this is the complete opposite. This is about waking up to what's really real. See, right now, you're probably pin a whole lot of other pills every single day. You're taking the my plan pill, the I gotta force it pill, thief, it's up to me pill. And let's be real, those things have some gnarly side effects. Anxiety, burnout, feeling like you're constantly swimming upstream. That's your ego medicating itself, thinking it's the main character in this whole movie. The cosmic chill pill is what you take when you finally realize you're not the one writing the script. It's the conscious, deliberate decision to stop the mental chatter, to stop the frantic planning, and to just be present with what is. Not with what you want to be, or what you're afraid might be, but with the raw, unfiltered is-ness of this very moment. This ain't some airy-fairy concept, this is practical stuff. It's that moment when you're in a heated argument, and instead of coming back with the next slick comeback, you just get quiet inside. You don't leave the room physically, but you take a step back in your spirit. You stop feeding the fire with your own mental gasoline. Or it's when you're staring at a blank screen, trying to force a creative idea, and you just lean back in your chair, close your eyes, and for a minute, you let go of the need for the idea to come. You trust that the same intelligence that designed the galaxy can cough up a decent idea for your project. You're not doing nothing in the sense of being lazy. You're doing the most profound something there is. You're making space. You're creating a vacuum. What nature abhors a vacuum, so the universe rushes in to fill it. When you're constantly thinking, planning, and worrying, you're like a cup that's already full of murky water. There's no room for the fresh, clean, infinite water to pour in. Doing nothing is the act of emptying your cup. It's the ultimate detox for your soul. You're flushing out the toxins of personal sense, that I, me, and me, that has you convinced you're running the show. This nothing is an active receptivity. It's like tuning a radio. All the stations are broadcast in all the time, but if your dial is spinning all over the place, all you get is static. The cosmic chill pill is when you stop spinning the dial, you stop on a frequency of peace, you get still, and you just listen. And in that silence, the music starts to come through. The guidance becomes clear. The next step appears, not because you clawed it out of the world, but because you finally got quiet enough to notice it was already there, laid out right in front of you the whole time. This is the foundation. Before you can understand why your hustle is the problem, you have to get what this divine inactivity really is. It's not passive, it's the most potent force you will ever engage. This is the foundation. Before you can understand why your hustle is the problem, you have to get what this divine inactivity really is. It's not passive, it's the most potent force you will ever engage. And that brings us right to the heart of the issue, the second major roadblock on this path. Your hustle is the problem. Now, I can feel the resistance to that from here. Our entire culture is built on that hustle. We wear burnout like a badge of honor. We think the grind is holy. We're addicted to the drama of forcing outcomes, convinced that if we just push a little harder, sweat a little more, we can bend reality to our will. But let me ask you a real question. How's that working out for you? For real? You get the thing you were hustling for, and how long does that peace last? A day, a week, before you're right back on that hamster wheel, chasing the next thing, convinced this is the one that's finally gonna make you happy, finally make you feel secure. This isn't a spiritual theory, it's a law. Your personal hustle, the one driven by your ego, your fears, and your desires, is literally the noise that drowns out the signal. It's you trying to do God's job. Think about that for a second. You, this little, limited sense of I, are running around trying to orchestrate a universe. It's like a single guitar string trying to conduct a whole symphony orchestra. It's not just arrogant, it's exhausting, and it's completely ineffective. The hustle is you trying to paint the masterpiece with a blindfold on, jabbing at the canvas with a brush, making a mess, and then getting frustrated that it doesn't look like the Mona Lisa. The infinite doesn't need your hustle. It doesn't need your 5-year plan or your frantic affirmations. What it needs is your consent. It needs you to get out of the way. Every time you're hustling from that place of personal will, you're essentially saying, I don't trust you to handle this. I gotta take it from here. You're plugging a cheap, battery-operated nightlight into a socket that's connected to a dam full of hydroelectric power. You're settling for that dim, flickering light because you're afraid to surrender the little battery you think you control. The hustle is that battery. It's your limited supply. It runs out, it dies. True activity, the kind that flows from the awakened consciousness, feels nothing like hustle. It feels like being danced. It's effortless action. It's showing up, being fully present, but without the internal knot in your stomach, without the white-knuckle grip on the outcome. You do what's in front of you to do, you take the next obvious step, but you leave the heavy lifting, the actual creating, this actual arranging of circumstances, to the infinite. Your job is to be the vessel, not the source. The hustle is you trying to be the source, and it's a tiny, sputtering faucet compared to the ocean that's available to you. So when we talk about your hustle being the problem, we're talking about dismantling the illusion of the personal door. It's about realizing that every time you lean on that frantic energy, you're actually disconnecting from the real power. You're choosing the hamster wheel over the flow of the river. And the river is going to get where it's going with or without you fighting the current. The choice is whether you want to be exhausted when you arrive or refreshed, carried by a current that knows the way far better than you ever could. The choice is whether you want to be exhausted when you arrive or refreshed, carried by a current that knows the way far better than you ever could. And that right there is the game. That's the shift. It's understanding that God's got the remote. Now, I'm not talking about some distant old man in the sky god who might be paying attention or might be checking his celestial phone. I'm talking about the principle of the universe, the operating system, the intelligence that spins the planets and tells the grass to grow. That same intelligence is running your life. But you keep grabbing for the remote, thinking you know what channel you should be on, what volume the whole thing should be at. You're clicking away, frustrated that the picture's all static, and it never once occurs to you that you're not even holding the real remote. You're holding a broken toy from a cereal box, clicking buttons that don't connect to a thing. Surrender is just the simple, profound act of finally dropping the fake remote. It's admitting, you know what? I have no idea what's best for me. I have no clue what this situation needs. My vision is about 2 inches in front of my face. So infinite, you take the remote, you change the channels, you adjust the volume. This is where faith becomes a verb. It's not believing that God will give you what you want. It's knowing that what God is giving you is what you need for your awakening right now. Even the static, even the channel you don't like, even the commercial breaks, it's all part of a perfect broadcast you're not yet able to see the entirety of. When you truly get this, life stops being a problem to be solved and starts being a show to be witnessed. What your job is just to provide the screen. That's your consciousness, and stay out of the way of the signal. This is what it means to live from the inside out. You're not reacting to the external channel, you're abiding in the internal broadcaster. The peace you seek doesn't come from changing the program. It comes from realizing you are one with the source of the program. So when a difficult scene comes on, instead of freaking out and trying to change the channel yourself, which you can't actually do, you just settle back and say, "Okay, director, I trust you. Show me what this is revealing. Show me the perfection in this scene." You stop being the frantic critic and you become the curious, trusting audience. This is the ultimate security. Your well-being is no longer tied to the temporary show that's playing. It's anchored in the fact that the broadcaster itself is eternal, infinite, and forever broadcasting perfection, even when my limited human sight can't perceive it. The remote is no longer in your hands because your hands were never designed to hold it. They were designed to be open, to receive, to be used as an instrument, but not as the director. The pressure is off. The weight of the world lifts from your shoulders because you are not the one responsible for orchestrating the world. You are responsible for one thing only, keeping your connection to the source clear, keeping your screen clean, and trusting the program director to handle the rest. All the trying, the manipulating, the figuring out, it's all just you fumbling with a remote that was never connected. The real show is infinitely more brilliant, or more complex, and more benevolent than anything your little personal self could ever have dreamed up. The real show is infinitely more brilliant, more complex, and more benevolent than anything your little personal self could ever have dreamed up. So, who is this little personal self that's always messing with the remote? That's the next piece we got to get into, and it's a big one. We got to see that the ego's a bad DJ. Now, I'm not using a go in some fancy psychological way. I'm talking about that voice in your head, the commentator, the storyteller, the one that's constantly spinning a narrative about your life 2047. And let's be honest, the playlist it chooses is mostly trash. It's a terrible DJ. It only plays the greatest hits of your past failures. It loops the sad songs on repeat. It throws on the anxious tracks that make your heart race for no good reason. It's constantly curating a soundtrack for your life based on fear, lack, and separation. This DJ, this ego, isn't even real. It's a collection of recorded thoughts, old tapes playing in an empty room. But you've been identifying with it for so long. You think the DJ is you. You think you are that voice, so when it plays a song called "You're Not Good Enough," you feel it in your bones. When it cues up, something bad is about to happen, your whole body tenses up. You're dancing to a beat that was programmed by your conditioning, by your childhood, by society, by every hurt you've ever had, and you think this is your music. But it's not your music, it's just noise. The ego's entire existence depends on you believing its story. It needs conflict, it needs a problem, it needs a you versus them to feel solid. Without a problem to solve or a fear to manage, it has no purpose, and it dissolves back into the nothingness it came from. That's why it fights so hard against the silence. The moment you get quiet, the moment you take the cosmic chill pill, the DJ panics. It turns up the volume. It starts shouting, "This is a waste of time! You should be doing something! What about your bills? What about that person who disrespected you?" It will throw a full-blown tantrum to get your attention back. Your practice, then, is not to fight the DJ. You can't win an argument with a recorded message. Your power is in simply recognizing the voice for what it is, a bad DJ playing a boring, repetitive set. You don't have to stop the music. You just have to stop dancing to it. You stop giving it your energy. You notice the thought. You acknowledge, there's the "I'm a failure" track again. And you gently, without any judgment, return your attention to the silence beneath the noise. You tune into a different frequency altogether, because there's another station broadcasting. It's the soul station. It doesn't broadcast in words or frantic stories. It broadcasts in feelings of peace, in sudden knowings, in intuitive nudges, in a deep, abiding sense of love that has no opposite. It's the music of the spheres, and it's always on. The ego's noisy party is so loud you can't hear the sublime symphony playing in the background. The work is to lower the volume on the DJ so you can perceive the music that was there all along. This is the real shift. Transferring your identity from the DJ who's playing the tapes to the awareness that is simply aware of all of it. The awareness that can choose which station to listen to. When you stop funding the ego's nightclub with your attention, it starts to lose its power. The music gets fainter, and what emerges in that newfound quiet is the real you, not the story but the silence that holds the story, not the bad DJ but the vast, peaceful space in which the music, both the trash and the symphony, is allowed to play. Not the bad DJ, but the vast, peaceful space in which the music, both the trash and the symphony, is allowed to play. And this brings us to the most misunderstood power move in the entire spiritual playbook. We've been talking about getting still, about letting go of the hustle, about turning off the ego's noise. And to the world, to that part of us still hooked on the grind, this can sound a whole lot like giving up. It can feel like you're raising a white flag and just letting life run you over. But I'm here to tell you that the exact opposite is true. What we're really talking about is the ultimate power move. We have to flip the entire script and see that surrender is not losing. The world's idea of winning is all about force, control, and domination. It's about your will being done. But that's a small, fragile, temporary kind of winning. It's like winning a battle in your backyard while you're losing the whole war. You might get the promotion, you might win the argument, You might force that person to stay, but inside, you're a wreck. You're tense, you're anxious, you're waiting for the next shoe to drop. That's not victory. That's just stress with a trophy. Surrender, in the way we're talking about it, is not laying down your weapons in defeat. It's realizing you were never in the right war to begin with, and you're trading in your shooter for the entire Allied forces. You're switching sides, from the side of the limited personal ego to the side of the infinite. Think of it like this: you're in a river, and you're exhausted, fighting the current, trying to swim upstream to a destination you think you're supposed to reach. Surrender isn't drowning. Surrender is the moment you stop fighting, turn around, and let the current carry you. And then you discover something miraculous. The river wasn't flowing toward a waterfall, it was flowing toward the ocean the entire time. You weren't being destroyed, you were being carried home. You gave up the struggle, but you gained the entire flow of the universe. You lost the fight, but you won the peace. That's not losing, that's the only kind of winning that actually lasts. It takes immense strength to surrender. Anybody can clench their fists. It takes a warrior to open their hands. It takes profound courage to admit, I don't know, I can't do this. I need a power greater than my own. That is not weakness, that is the beginning of true intelligence. You are aligning your little canoe with the engine of a cosmic cruise ship. You are no longer trying to paddle across the ocean. You're hitching a ride on a vessel that cannot sink. So when you feel that resistance, when you feel yourself wanting to grip and control and manage, see it for what it is, the ego's fear of its own obsolescence. It would rather have you lose while feeling in control than win by admitting you aren't. Surrender is the conscious choice to win the real prize, inner peace, effortless flow, divine harmony, by letting go of the illusion that you were ever the one in charge. It is the final and most profound act of faith, the trust that the intelligence that runs the cosmos has a better plan for your life than your fear-based ego ever could. It is the final and most profound act of faith, the trust that the intelligence that runs the cosmos has a better plan for your life than your fear-based ego ever could. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where all this talk becomes a tangible experience you can feel in your bones. It's the payoff. We've been calling it doing nothing. But what actually happens in that space of surrendered silence? What blooms in the void when the ego's chatter finally dies down? This is the secret, the treasure you've been hunting for your whole life. This is the magic in the stillness. It ain't magic like a cheap party trick. It's magic like the force of gravity, invisible, unstoppable, and always in operation. When you consciously enter that stillness, you aren't just taking a mental break. You are plugging your awareness directly into the mainframe. You are dipping your cup into the wellspring of infinite possibility. And from that place, life doesn't just get a little easier, it starts to reorganize itself for you. This is where those coincidences start popping off. You think of a person you haven't seen in years, and they text you 5 minutes later. You suddenly get a hunch to take a different route to work, and you avoid a massive traffic jam. A solution to a problem you've been wrestling with for months just drops into your head, fully formed, while you're washing the dishes. The world calls this luck or intuition, but this is the natural result of a consciousness that has gotten itself out of the way. It's the universe arranging circumstances on your behalf because you've finally stopped rearranging them with your own frantic, limited hands. In the stillness, you become a conductor for a wisdom that is infinitely smarter than your thinking mind. You stop figuring things out and you start knowing them. This knowing doesn't come from a place of logic. It comes as a quiet certainty, a deep, unshakable feeling in your gut that this is the way, even if it makes zero sense to the person still listening to the bad DJ. This is the flow state that athletes and artists talk about, where the music plays itself, the paintbrush moves itself, and the game seems to slow down. It's not a special gift for a chosen few, it's your birthright, and it's only accessible when the personal, striving self takes a back seat. The magic is that your very perception begins to shift. You start to see the world not as a collection of separate, solid problems, but as a fluid, dancing expression of the one consciousness. The person who irritates you is no longer just an obstacle. They're a perfect mirror, showing you a part of your own consciousness that's asking to be healed. The financial challenge isn't just a threat, it's an invitation to deepen your trust in the infinite as your true source. The stillness isn't an escape from the world, it's the lens that brings the world into perfect, divine focus. You aren't waiting for a miracle. You are realizing that you are standing in the middle of one, and you have been all along. You just couldn't hear the music over the noise of your own life. The magic was always there, broadcasting on all frequencies. The stillness is simply you finally tuning in.